Seed and Soil, Unincorporated Voices of Food, Farming, and Freedom. I am Summer Sibley, your host, and I am happy, hopefully if this is your first time joining, for you to join us in a conversation today that centers farmers, fishers, elders, healers, people of the land who walk in the land, who with the land, who know the land, to add context and reveal the layers that are often underneath our food system. Today I have with me Randall and Lindsey Simmonds, who are farmers, but also who are friends. And so here we go. Hi, Randall. Hi, Lindsey.
Hi, Summer.
How are you doing today?
We're good.
I'm good.
First and foremost, I want I to know that when we designed Of Seed and Soil podcast, your names were at the top of my list of people I wanted to talk to.
Nice. I'm happy to hear.
One, because I feel like you all represent the next generation of farming. I feel like, and I know we're not as young as we used to be, but when people think about farming in the Virgin Islands, they think about like older people, 20 years our senior, and like the generation that is this generation is a little bit invisible of the people who holding it down. So I'm super glad that you guys said yes and you're here, and I want to invite you, I'm gonna start with Randall, to tell the people a little bit about who you are. Who is Randall Simmonds?
First of all, Randall Simmonds. I go by no other name. Family call me Randy at times. Spiritual being first and foremost, love every living entity, and I try my best to respect that. Not perfect with anything by any means, but definitely by heart I try my best. Willing to help everybody and every living entity on the planet. And by that means, one of the most rooted thing that I found was farming. I mean, we can't live without the food, we can't live without water, we can't live without our air. And I also love to think that by some means we can live without each other, but that's very difficult by mind and body. Because when you get sick, you rely on others, you know? So, but for me, farming was something that was rooted in my heart. I started a landscaping business before I got into farming. That's still active and going well. And farming became something secondary to me, not necessarily by nature, just by how life presented itself, but it's always been the first and foremost thing in my heart. So it will never leave. We need food, even within what we do, and we know the resources, we need food, we still practice different things. Like, okay, you can do money crops and so forth, but we practice to do other crops just because it worked to practice so that you can know what to do and how to grow. So beyond that, I do like art. I don't do art. I like music. I respect all artists of all form. That's something that I passionately like to enjoy other people do and watch other people do. I'm an outdoors person, 100%. I can live and spend outdoors. I like traveling, and I wish everybody could have the opportunity to get around. So what else about me? And with that, traveling means I invite anybody to join me. Almost anywhere I go, anytime I go, because the joy is people.
People.
Yeah, seriously, the joy is sharing that, sharing those moments. So those are the things I love. I've dropped sports years ago. I still love sports, but not so much that it's a part of my life anymore. I do enjoy that as part of art too. So talent is a big thing. And I like to see people explore their talent and exploit that as the best capabilities.
So I want to say thank you to you. I go into Lindsey, right? But I want to say thank you because, Randall, I've known you a long time.
Yes,
We've known each other a long time. I'm watching the camera. You're going to be like, everybody on this podcast, a long time? Yes, because we live on an island and it's 84 square miles. So if you are within an age group, you tend to have the opportunity to build intimate relationships with people.
Correct.
But what I know of you, Randall, is like you are a man not of few words because you have a lot of depth and you'll talk to anybody, but you're also extremely personal, right? Like who Randall is, you leave me, you're going to be cordial, you're going to be polite, you're going to be nice, and you are reserved. So I appreciate you coming and being vulnerable and like letting people know, like, hey, this is me. I love art. I'm a businessman. I love music. Like, to me, that's like a big, I count that as a big share, right? Because many people may see you and you're so reserved that you just lifting up that little layer and saying, hey, these are a few things about me that mean a lot. Yes. And to your lovely wife, Lindsey, who I've also known forever, like, how would you articulate or describe yourself, Lindsey, the woman, and also Lindsey, Randall's wife and business partner?
Well, first, good afternoon. Thank you for having us, Summer. It actually means a lot that we get to speak for our community. When you speak on food, land, water, it's on your community, you know? Lindsey as a person. So to clear it up, me and Randall have been together since we're 16 years old. So when you see us, we are a unit, and we've both fed off of each other as developing adults, right? And a lot of my input to farming comes through Randall. It would not have been a path that was shown to me prior to meeting Randall in high school. Two different worlds, two different backgrounds. It just wasn't an offer or even a thought in my head prior to meeting this person. If I had to describe myself individually, I'm probably the fire starter, and he walks around with a water to put out my damn fires everywhere. I honestly think that he's the more grounding part of me. And I'm like the whirlwind that kind of turns and spins everything and stirs the pot more. But it's necessary. We balance each other very good, very, very well. And for a long time, many people have just called me Randall's wife. They don't even use my name. They'll just say, hey, Randall's wife. And I'll be like, hey, what's up?
You know, we're talking about like food, farming, and freedom. And I want to like the love story, right? Because I think something that is lost. We have an episode where a person mentions that love is necessary, right? And in the face of a world that has told us that, one, love can't start at 16 and ride out till, I'm gonna say my age. We're about the same age, right?
Yes.
About 47 or your 50s or that love no longer lasts the time of like, we're going to do this until we can't do it anymore because I consistently choose you. Or in a time where people are afraid to be sharpened and groomed by their partner. Like to be together from 16 and to be here now means that there is a lot of reflection, a lot of sharpening, a lot of grooming. Like I raise each other into the man and woman that you are.
Yes.
Whether that's hard, lovely, and also hard worn to be sitting there and happy. And like when you said people call me Randall wife, like you said it quietly, but with like an honor. Like I'm honored to be like, that's a title that I want to answer to still. And like, you know, there's a lot of people fighting to be like, oh yeah, you know my husband, but what's my name? You know me, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like, you're like, yeah, they call me Randall wife and I don't answer. Like, I think that's also part of the creation of a society that values food and farming is one that have to value family, right? And I use a family unit. So like, that's just like, even if we talk about nothing else, that alone to me was like a gem that we should be sharing with the world, that here in the Virgin Islands, like love is a prevailing thing that people can have together. And like wear it well. So like kudos to Ayo. Like, because I remember when I went together when you were 16, right? I was there. So I am a testimony. I know that this is a real thing.
It is. Indeed it is. And it's been good. I mean, every you know, you have your struggles in life, regardless what path you take, whether it's business, relationship, friends, brothers, sisters, you have those, but it's how you deal with it. It's how you react. And again, you want to, you know, I mean, coming and growing myself from having, I guess, a reactive temper, I had to realize that itself needs check. And Rastafari is what checked that for me. You know what I mean? Straight up. That bring the balance for me. Because by any means or no means, I wouldn't consider myself necessarily humble to all, because it all depends on the relationship and the person and the situation, because everybody can get rowdy. You know what I mean? But always my thing is a humble approach first, though. Always diplomatic first.
I come out swinging.
Yeah.
No, but like I can. So we talking, right? So I can just say in my head, I view you all not just as a successful couple, but successful and stable business people, right? So when you say, here's my energy, and Randall presents, here's my energy, right? And that energy together has been able to sustain several things, right? So I want to talk about the farming component, but I also want to talk about like your landscaping business, because I think it's important to understand that when people choose to be farmers because they had no other option, and because they're successful business people, like there's all of these negative tropes around who a farmer is. And so I want to talk about the fact that you guys do run a successful landscaping businesses. And as long as I have known you, you have been entrepreneurs. I don't know you to be anything else. So this is like, correct that story if I ran.
No, correct.
No,
I mean,
right.
The last time I worked for someone by the hour was the summer of 2000. I did an electrical job for the stint of the summer, and that's the last time I literally work on the clockwork, Bringing up the landscaping business was a fight. It wasn't like, it's been within the last, I would say, 10 years to say that it's been successful. It's been a struggle, like any other business starting out. But I opened that business in May of 2001. So because of I always, like I said from the beginning, had farming in my heart. Farming has always been something I wanted to do from since in high school, as part of the natural nature of things, come along with my way of life with Rastafari. It been a part of me. But I had opportunity to do landscaping. I was in that working in 1999 with Ferdy's Forest, which is still an existing business. And I kind of enjoyed the trade. It was a kind of a thing into nature itself by itself. So, and then I realized in 2001 and 2, presenting them 2 years, that I had a very hardship during the drought months.
Yeah.
We had property at the time. We had a ferry functioning well at the time, and still is functioning. And my neighbor, who presented the opportunity for me to start a crop, and he was like, man, get into farming. You had a brethren give you some irrigation hose. Their hose are good. I'll help you. And he donated the seeds for me to be influenced into farming. Because, starting any business, you're still shaky. You're not knowing anything, So he was my uphold. And, and he's still my neighbor, still functioning. He goes by Groundsman. So everybody knows him when he calls the radio. I pay a lot of homage to him for that.
They're very good.
So
farmer.
just to continue to get that story cleared. So because of the drought, I got that experience started. I did a small crop, and then and at that very first crop, people always say, well, farming don't have money in it. That sustained me throughout my droughts for those couple years.
Oh, wow.
With landscaping. I literally been able to pay off our car at that in 2006. It was several years later. We bought a brand new car in 2002. So farming helped me to pay that off. It wasn't even the landscaping, it was the farming.
You used to pick the cucumber and say, $1, $2.
like $2,
Like literally picking your money right off the tree.
And people say money don't grow on trees.
And it grew right there off the tree.
And people, that's a soundbite. And people say money don't grow on trees. I love it.
Yeah.
So while you were talking, and then after this question, I'm going to go to Lindsey. But while you were talking, you said something. You said 2001, you had a well on the property. We're there in 2024.
25.
So, 25. So that's 24 years. And the same land. But I want to go back 24 years ago. How old were you?
What, 24 years ago?
Average.
I was, I'm 44 now,
20.
so I'm 20 years old,
Because you have been, I just want, because this is also about land tenure, right? And our relationship with the land. So you've been stewarding the same well and the same property
Yes.
for 20 years?
Yeah. My dad walked us up there. And no, my dad walked us up there and said, this is the land and this is going to pass on to you guys. And he let us, and I'm going to mention it because not enough parents let their children use the land while they own it. They heart, oh, that's mine. You can have it when I pass and this and that. My dad didn't do that. Not at all. And we're not doing that with our children.
Nope.
You know, that's their land. They don't have to wait for us to pass. That's their land. That's yours. And my dad did that with us. And my dad, going through his health issues, almost lost that land. And it's Randall that saved the land. We still own that land today because Randall saved that land.
High five, because like,
Yeah.
Black land loss all over America in the nation that we live is a huge deal.
Yes.
There were millions of acres. And I'm going to make sure I get the correct number, but there are millions of acres that have been lost to people of color over the years through development, through, family sales, things caught up in probate, heirs, properties, all of these things. So to hear a story of, land owned by one generation actively passed to the next, and then the union in the next generation is why that land is still stewarded. That is so beautiful because so many people in that drought season would have made the choice
To sell the land.
Aha.
We had friends that sold their tractor.
Oh, yeah. And I want them, because you give up your independence when you do that. Like the number one thing that you have, and that's the last thing we would ever sell if we were to ever leave St. Croix. Is the tractor and the land. It's not going anywhere.
And I'd have to have the children's agree to sell that land because it's not even just ours anymore.
Yeah, it's theirs.
We
That's
have
right,
adult
100%.
children. It's theirs.
Yep.
I don't have that right. I mean, maybe legally we do, but we don't have that right to just decide that.
But Lindsey, you say something really layered and complex, and I want to highlight because you are always talking to me about the next generation. Whenever I talk to Lindsey and I'm like, what we should be doing with food, you're driving home the youth. And so there is this systemic, we the stewards of this land legally and paper, blah, blah, blah. But there's another system at play that you just referenced. This also belongs to my children. And you're willing to honor that. So
100%.
Talk to me about why youth and why you think they're so important in this food farming freedom.
Well, our generation skipped the beat. So most of our farmers are in their 60s or our farmers are in their 20s trying. Our generation is like a gap because our parents didn't say, hey, do this. Like I said, nobody said farming is a viable option. Nobody said even trades are a viable option. Everybody was degree. And I actually didn't do that well in school. I had dyslexia and I had some learning disabilities. I was just happy to pass. I was just let me get out of high school. Let me just pass this. And, and people to this day still come and they're like, oh, you should have gotten this degree. You should have. Four walls really annoy me. They really, really annoy me. I worked in the bank once as a teller. I would never go back to that life. I just wouldn't. It's not who I am, and it's not good for who people are, grounding of who you are. And passing that on to the next generation means you involve the next generation. So there's a part of this story that's incomplete. So where Randall started the business and he came out from working underneath somebody, when he was 21 and I was 20, we had our first child. And we really wanted to homeschool. So that was another engagement where we needed to homeschool. So I didn't enter mystical lawn care until, I don't know what year.
Just after the storm, just before the storm.
Just before the 2017 storms. Yeah, that I become full time like that. So all those years from 2021 up to 2017, he ran that business. And I dealt with homeschooling 3 children. And putting them on the farm or putting them to learn how to use passion fruit, how to use mangoes, how to eat from the land that they're from. He's bringing home bins and baskets of things that he collected during the day, and it's my job to make use of it because he's got to go back to work. You know, he'd go landscape, then to the farm, and he'd be like, bing, 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 and I'd have to deal with all these things while homeschooling the children, and it became the process of homeschooling. You know, so they're embedded into that land. Because if you want juice, you better go pick the passion fruit, boss. Like, there ain't no juice in that cabinet. There's passion fruit on that vine, and that's where you get it from. We don't buy jam. We don't buy any of that stuff. We had a big stint where we didn't buy coconut milk or any type of milk anymore because we had over 100 coconut trees.
We had over 60 coconut trees.
Over 60 coconut trees, and one coconut tree would bear like, I don't know, 80 coconuts at once. He has this crazy dwarf breed that just is in abundance and it bears a lot. And if I'm buying that stuff, then I'm wasting what's at home. Mm-hmm. And I'm wasting so where people say you don't make money, not only do you make money, you save money. That's right. And you eat better. You know, you never go back to buying a tomato out of the store. We don't buy tomatoes out of the store because I've eaten fresh tomatoes off of a vine. You know?
I'm like here just taking this all in, and what I'm hearing is a lot of times when I speak to people about farming, we're talking about farming as an industry or the opportunities to make money, farming the business, right? Mm-hmm. I am here, and what I am taking from this conversation, which I know, but I feel like I know it more after just stopping and listening to you both. This is a lifestyle. Yes. For the Simmonds, right? Yes, that you passed on to your children. It does have a business component. It sure does. And you can talk to me about the dollar cucumber picking, mm-hmm. right? But like this was a lifestyle choice that you all made pretty early.
Yeah, we want to be connected with the earth one way or the other. That's the main thing. And like you said, it's all part of being grounded. I was just reiterating something to her earlier today because I watched a little video on I think it was Facebook, which I was telling her all the time. The Bible teaches us about even the fabric we wear, mm-hmm. you know, mixing fabric, how it affects our body. And I've actually found someone that did some research on it because my vibes was the frequency, because I know I feel a lot of high energy. Even the sheets that I sleep on, it mm-hmm. affects me, you know what I mean? And really does. As a child, I tell people a story where I was about 10, and for years it happened, where people couldn't really come and touch me. You know what I mean? I would be like, you touch me, I'm brushing that off. Or trying to hide it, blow like, so my mom used to see me do it, and she said, like, something's wrong with you. Like, you need to, what's wrong with you? Like, I'd be like, dude, I can feel that, you know what I mean?
I want to adapt that in my adult life. I want to. If I see me doing it, don't laugh, because I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
because it matters.
I want to control a lot of it, but I still feel a lot of that energy. I still, even from the fabrics I wear, the people vibes I am around, I feel a lot of that energy. So grounding is important for me. I have to touch the earth. I have to be around the earth. I have to be around that.
All these years, I know me, and I like here fighting for agriculture, like agriculture for the people.
Oh, I know that.
Right? I rarely ever had put my hands in the earth, and I had the opportunity to go to Vieques the other day mm-hmm. and put my hands in the soil for the first time, and I did not cry, but it almost brought me to tears. Yeah. One, like I needed it in my life, and it's like it now. In this work, the advocacy and the care I have for farming, farmers, and food, I was like, it's a missing component to what I do, and I want to find time for it. But you feel like, my interpretation of what you're sharing is that you, for a while, been like so in tune with the vibrations of the earth that maybe you are a little more sensitive to the vibrations that those of us who are in buildings and indoors and in AC.
Correct.
Right? Like, we numb in those vibes, especially with like the kinds of foods that we're eating, right? Yes. We have layers that our aura, not to be too woo-woo, but those things are scientifically proven, right? You could look it up.
It is.
And so choosing this lifestyle have given you more upful vibes, and you're a little bit more sensitive to things that enter your vibration pattern because you don't feel the art.
You sure
Yeah.
do.
Because I felt it in Vieques.
You
So
would.
now I saying it like, no, you don't feel the earth.
Feel it.
Right?
Yes. you
Because I
feel
felt
that
it.
energy.
Yeah, you sure do. And,
you
and it is scientific
Yeah,
proven.
and
you know?
we talk about island people and the beach. Island people use the ocean always as a cleanser. Your earth is no different. The water we drink is no different. You know, we drink our well water. We are drinking the water that our ancient ancestors, the Tainos that have lived here for hundreds and hundreds of years prior to Columbus, drank. This is the same water.
Our ancient ancestors. So again, the lifestyle, right? When I went to Puerto Rico and I hear the pride in even the way people choose to call Puerto Rico Borinquen versus Puerto Rico rich port versus the colonizer's name.
Yep.
And I was like, we so comfortable, right? In this fight for freedom and in this fight for sovereignty, we so comfortable using our colonizer name, right? I don't ever hear any of us walking around saying aye when we know the indigenous name of this place. Is that the indigenous name? That's what you're
Yes,
telling me?
it is.
Well, no, it's the indigenous name. The thing is, and I've thought about this a lot, to be a Virgin Islander is to admit you are a colonized being. I am a product of stolen from Africa. I am a product of European invasion. I am a product of the people who were here on these lands. And now I sustain a vibrational energy of these lands. Whether I was linked to them or not, it's now passed on to us. So I am the product of colonialism. It's not like a happy thing, but it is what it is.
Correct.
Listen, stop it now. Why you just give me chills? Because I've been someone, again, I've been working with people from Guam, American Samoa, Alaska, Hawaii, Vieques, Puerto Rico for the past 3 years. Beautiful network, right? And they have these skills of collective work that I'm like, why Virgin Islanders can't do this? Like I go there and I long for it, right? And I'm not saying their systems are perfect, right?
No, but I understand.
But they are capable of doing a thing together and making progress. Like they are so proud of their identity. Like
Yes.
you cannot, like when we went to Hawaii, there was like, remember you're a guest here. Even as an invited guest,
Yes.
this is our sacred land. Please treat it as such. Remember you're a guest. Walk as a guest in these lands. They didn't blink to tell us that.
And you
right?
shouldn't.
And I was just like, oh, when I went to Puerto Rico and everybody's just like talking about what you're talking about, honestly, right? Not the business of agriculture, but the movement of agriculture, the lifestyle of agriculture, right? Like that felt different to me and willing to do it together as a community. And what you just said, right? We are the product of colonialism in more totality than maybe some other places. Ties to another comment that was made on another podcast where it was like, we identified that we are the only territory, unincorporated voice, that is of African descent. I mean, we have some other feeder places, right? But this is the Black territory.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's a connection for me. And this
And
is like,
it is,
whoa.
and of course, that's what the colonizer wants, is to reduce our melanin. So it's, our effects are resilient, in this world, So even though, yes, you can go to Guam and they have a lot similar situations, but their situation is not African direct.
'Cause those people are of that
diasporas,
land.
Correct. And then
Hawaii is of that land.
and then also a thing that affected us on another end was the industrial of Hess becoming Hobenza. It becomes more, everybody want the Hessman, the monetize, everything became, and the farming dropped, and if just to educate the people, if you didn't know, there was a program the UN developed, which was a food for oil program, and also which was in same context, food for industry. So they take the people away because your sovereignty bounds with food. If you don't have food, I don't care how much millions of dollars you have. If I have the avocado, I could charge you $10,000 for that avocado if I truly want, because you ain't gonna eat no other way out of how. You know what I'm saying? Like during COVID, how these things happen when the world turned turmoil. So reminding everyone that food is that essential, because people find the grocery store to be the way you get food and not actually coming from farmers. You see what I'm saying? So I'll give you another example. During COVID, a lot of the seed companies that we were ordering from, and Nikki can attest to that, a lot of people won't be able to order seeds because they weren't in already with the companies, and they knew that people would start to hoard. So they're limited to people who had accounts. We were able to get seeds. We ordered hundreds and hundreds of seeds because we weren't knowing what would happen. Paper. We didn't order toilet paper, and that's where people put the cart before the horse, because you cannot wipe your butt, have no purpose to wipe your butt if you don't eat.
You ain't put enough food inside your body.
Why you killing yourself over toilet paper? And you should be primarily worried about food.
But isn't it interesting that the propaganda or the messaging that we got in that time was that you're going to run out of paper goods, when paper goods are also an agricultural product. Like people overlook that paper goods is an agricultural product. Printing paper is an agricultural product. Your compostable coffee cup, what? Agricultural product.
Correct.
So
textiles and so forth, agricultural products.
But I didn't think about what you just said, right? Like the seeds over toilet paper, and it kind of tells us the consciousness or the level of thinking, right? Like I didn't think, like I did not think during COVID, I didn't think at all about seeds. During hurricane season, I had to think about seeds. But during a global pandemic, I would not have realized that seed companies were limiting seed orders. I didn't make the connection. Wow, that's just like pow, pow, pow.
Yeah. We always have seed.
We always have extra.
I don't care what.
And Walmart cleared their shelves. So like stateside, basic everyday stores took their seeds off. You had to have not just an ag license, but a commercial agricultural license in America to purchase seeds during that disaster. Right? And so remember, we live in a world of capitalism. And also remember that agriculture is the number one thing required for civilization. Everybody thinks civilization is how smart you are, how educated you are. Look, that city over there, that city can't eat without somebody farming it. Yep. We went from gathering foods while being nomads, hunter-gatherers. What made us stop is I could plant that field while we're in this one spot. That's the only way we're able to stay in one spot.
That is actually, so what you're sharing is history. I could go in a history book or a social studies book or talking about how civilization occurred. You could Google it. And that is true. We did go from hunter-gatherers to then, once we discovered the ability to plant a seed, right? Then the men had to go out less and hunt, and women were tending, and then these wombs of civilization were born, right? And so, wow, this is like the good stuff, right? Because a lot of these conversations are lost on everyday people. But I don't feel, I could be wrong, but I don't feel like people are in their houses really centering food as the anchor of modern civilization, right? Like real talk.
Yeah.
They're not, because
line the grocery store.
Well, right. We're taught that comes from a grocery store. It's your propaganda you mentioned. And the only way to continue colonizing a people is to continue with the propaganda. Correct. There's all kinds of things within colonialism that is propagandized so that we're controlled. And food is our biggest one, because I need you to eat.
Yeah. And that's the thing I was saying with the UN and the elites and what they were doing in most of the globe, is because by controlling the food, they control the people. They put the people in Africa, all around the world, into industry, and it makes it easier for them, because now they say, well, I don't have to risk losing a crop, because crops do fail. Now, when that crop fails, people sustainably live off of that. The children are suffering, and the household, the community starts to suffer. So now, by them providing, the elites providing the food, and we just go to work in the industry, in the shoe, and like she said, textiles and all of that. And now we get an income, and we could just buy food, and now it becomes a standard we're living. But now you're controlled by master, because if I control the food, guess what? It's like teaching a man to fish.
So the modern global food system, right, is basically what you are highlighting. Is it fashioned off of the unfortunate industrial system, which is fashioned off of the cotton gin, which the cotton gin situation came up of slavery, right?
Correct.
How do we build these systems, right? So then we took and we like exploded it and made it a global system of control, right?
Correct.
Where some people have way more than others, because food distribution is not decided by a place's capacity to grow food, but by a global industrial food overseer determining
Correct.
what goes where and almost
And
like
how
who's
much
worthy.
grow too.
But
Yeah.
that's the
Correct.
problem, is that food and water and shelter are human rights. You should not have to earn that.
Yep.
Your creator, whatever you call your creator, granted that to you. So while we're running around for $1 to buy something to eat, that should never be. We should be fed by society, because if society wants to continue running, everybody's backyard should have gardens in it. And you're right. So when civilization made the
100%.
transition, men or the hunting groups that went out, maybe still went out until we learn animal husbandry, right? Women upheld farming and agriculture while men traded. So you needed to go out and gather less, but you still had to trade because environments don't grow everything.
Yep.
So men became the
a farmer
traders.
and that's why I said earlier we need each other, because that's what you need. If I growing cucumber, you growing tomato, she growing lettuce, we have a salad. You know?
And that is new world thinking or old world thinking that's really relevant today, right? How do we grow what we need and barter and trade and make sure? So I'm going to bring this right home. How do we make sure the Virgin Islands always have a salad, right? And I feel like right now, if we counting on us, this is my personal feeling, the salad bowl empty.
The salad bowl empty.
So again, we got into the monetization of life. So everybody is seeking money. One time, I remember this distinctively, you, Sama, and kudos to Sama, because I remember selling on the side of the road at Plaza East when I was living in Peter's Rest. This was early. This was when I, back in 2003, between 2003 and 6. And I remember your goals. I remember you telling me your story, and to see that to fruition today is amazing, and I 100% support
We
you. and
remember summer
congratulate you.
20 years ago.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like,
You
we
know?
remember having the
I could remember
conversations
having the
with you on
conversation.
what you want this to become, and then seeing the I Good Food become.
Yep.
So it's not just you watching us, we've watched you.
Watch you.
And
That's
we've
right.
watched you like reach into every aspect of this community and show them how food is their essential, and them growing their own food is the essential.
I hope, our works, right? Because I think at the end of the day, this is a space of collective works, right? People might see us as separate units because we are not, everybody does see me with Nicole all the time walking food. Everybody, I have a phenomenal person on my team who's also my friend. Her name is Nicole. You'll probably see her on the podcast at some point, right? And they make that association, but they actually don't realize that there is a collective, informal of people who are like working and moving and doing works to, one, raise consciousness, period.
Correct.
And
Very
also,
important.
right,
Very
and
important.
also raise consciousness around health and freedom, because like the body that I live in is one where the current food system has weaponized my diet against me.
Right.
I am not the first
Yes.
and only one. We can talk about a community that's riddled with diabetes, hypertension,
And all of us. Yeah.
morbid obesity, addictions to sugar, addictions to salt, right?
GMO foods.
GMO foods. And then you see the result, things like polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Correct.
Things like early death, things people getting legs amputated. Young
Cancers.
people, right? 47 is relatively young, right? Can't walk up to the top of the hill without being like, oh, yeah, okay, I don't want to do no more on the farm tour. It's lovely from,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, that is the truth of the body that I live in. And part of why I do this is because it is hard when you have your thinking and your own personal internal vibration is addicted to certain behaviors, whether emotionally, physically, and you actually know better and you're struggling to break the cycle. Like, why would we give that to our children?
But so that you asked why involve the youth so much. That's why. Because nobody should have ever handed you a Coca-Cola.
Yep.
Ever. You know, that's poison in a can. Sure. And I know you love your Coke. That's why I mention it. Because, I remember Coke.
Yeah.
It is good. I'm not going to sit here
It tastes good.
Thank you.
The impact.
Well, okay, so let's go over that. Let's go over what food is really quick. Because when we talk about culture, when you talk about a people, you're talking about what they eat. Why does this group of people worship corn and this group of people worship wheat? It's because that's what your sustainable is. So when you have the god of maize or whatever, it's because that's what sustains your people. So we understand everything through our existence through getting the things that we need, our resources, right? Colonization takes those resources from us. So it strips our culture away. And then it hands us a Coke and a can. And it handed it to everybody. The diaspora got it.
Yep.
So now we have no more links to this tree, that stream, that mountain.
And the truth is, even if you have your vices, as all of us have something,
I love
you
cheese.
speak the truth about it. You know, you don't encourage it like it's good because you're bad habits. You encourage
Correct.
it as saying, well, this is my vice and this may be the one or two things that I do. But, you know, try to avoid this as much as you can, blah, 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 you know, and so forth. You don't sit there and wallow. And that's something that I have find in myself that I never have done. Like I have never led anybody down a path that I wasn't willing to take. You know what I mean?
Or if I'm on and I know it's wrong,
Or
I'm going to
even
tell
if
you
I'm
this
on
is
it.
not good.
Correct.
This
know.
is not good to do.
And because, you know, misery loves company. So
Right.
you try to cast those things aside to be a better person and more importantly, for the next generation to become the better persons, you know? And I'm saying that because I try to encourage my children for them to understand that I may not be able to heal every illness that my family has passed on to me. But if we count 7 generations from now as our cells repair ourselves 7 years, and within the 7th generation, and it can happen as early as 5 generations, but within 100% 7 generation with good dieting and good food, leave the GMO and the pesticides aside, you can eliminate all these ailments that we've been passed on from our generations. And I'll say this, people always like to say, and I use scriptures a lot because it has context to life. And through scriptures, we pass sins on to from Adam and Eve, and people say, "Well, how is that fair? How is that?" And I say it's in truth because it's in our DNA, and the things we eat, the bad vibes, the air we breathe, the bad karma that we present out in life, these things pass on
Or
through
our
DNA.
trauma.
Our trauma,
The things we've been
you know.
So in Hawaii, when I was there, one of the things that they believe is what you do to this body today, you are doing to 7
Of course,
generations.
7
Definitely.
generations, 100%.
There's a 7-generation rule.
So as we wrap, I want to give each of you a chance to tell me 7 generations from now, based on the life that you're living and the work that you are doing, from your own point of view, what is one thing that would be made manifest not just for your children, but for St. Croix through your lifestyle? I'm going to start with Lindsey. I want to close with Randall.
Okay.
I would like to see our people, because I'm not going to depend on the government. Summer knows that I don't depend on the government. And that government system is a colonial style system. It does not serve its people, it serves the colonizers. So our people of each island, because each island, even though we're different islands and we need to work together, we are a unit as an island, that we take our land ownership very serious. And we have these difficult conversations with our friends, the people that come and own 20, 30 acres and are looking for another lot. They don't even have no children. And I'm asking them, what are you doing with that? Why do you need more land? Because that whole project building over there is full of young people that need 2 acres, just a little bit. You know what I mean? So I think that for me, if we're not going to own these lands, being able to farm them is going to be impossible. being able to be stewards of these lands and the systems that we live in, unless we own them, we are not going to be able to save them. And so we have to stop looking at them as banks and start looking at them as our great-great-grandchildren's inheritance. Okay, that's the future of II. That's how II continues, is because that land still belongs to the people of II.
100%. I will piggyback a little bit on that. But also, first and foremost, of course, it starts with the mindset. So teaching the youngsters and even some of the older ones, because they're still the ones that's can pass on history and heritage. So to understand, like Lindsey mentioned earlier, not waiting to hand stuff out. If you can, give it. Let them use it, even if you don't want to legally do it. Let them use it, because by you waiting, you're hindering something that should help us progress, as I'm trying to do the same for my children. I don't think that they should be entitled, but I think we should help them progress. And that's how we formulate the next generation to come. And by doing that, it starts with the mindset that letting people know that sovereignty starts with food. It's very important to know that if you're not feeding yourself, then the person not feeding you has the hand in control.
Yep.
And on that note, it's important to remember that, to have, because I own my landscaping business. I do well with that. But again, I will never give up my farm. I would choose my farm over the landscaping any day.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you a question in closing?
Yes, you can.
What is VI Good Food want to see in the next 7 generations?
In the next 7 generations, I hope there is no VI Good Food that needs to exist, because the principles and the values that we espouse in here today as a lifestyle and health, and people have access to land and they have access to all they need, and we take just enough and we give each other, and we don't. What I want for 7 generations is that they know nothing about what a VI Good Food is, because the kind of advocacy that we fighting for today, we have been successful. And so they can tackle the next challenge, right?
Yes.
The food system, the 98% won't be the challenge that generation has to tackle for liberation.
Yes.
They could take up our next mantle. That's what I want.
Yes.
Nice. Sounds great.
Thank you for joining this really wonderful episode of Seed and Soil, where I got to talk to my friends, Randall and Lindsey. We want you to we want you to subscribe, we want you to take up some of that lifestyle and start picking cucumbers and counting them as dollars. And we want that when you turn this off, maybe you go out tomorrow and you buy some seeds off the shelf and you keep a store and stock for yourself, and you make sure that you're picking passion fruit off the vine so that they can make their juice from home instead of purchasing it from the store. Thank you so very much for joining us.